What is up, guys? Welcome to another special episode of the MOC podcast. I am here once again, back from my hiatus, and I have here actually a special guest with me. He was a returning guest for the MOC podcast. He was here originally as one of my very first actual interviewers, and I was proud to have him on then, but I'm even more proud to have him on now because not only that, since he's been on, he's had a wild amount of accreditations labeled to his name. He is now an FSW champion. He is a Global Force Wrestling original competitor, and the gentleman itself, proud to have him on now because not only that, sorry, and the gentleman himself has had many shout-outs from actual WWE legends, and let alone just legends in general. So ladies and gentlemen, I'm proud to present to you the FSW champion, the Toll Man himself, Kevin Kross. Sir, how are you?
Doing very good. How you doing, man?
Not bad. Thank you for your time for coming back out. Like I said, since you've been on, you've had a ton of things happening to you that goes from WWE, that goes from giving a shout out from the Taz show, from Global Force Wrestling, going around with Jeff Jarrett and doing spots there for national television. Just what is your overall feeling of what's happened to you in the last 2 years since you've debuted as a wrestler?
It goes from absolutely nothing happening to everything happening all at once in a very small amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
And that was kind of what I was striving for. I was looking to fast track this, but I didn't want to put myself in a position or a place that I wasn't going to be prepared to be in. So I prepared for everything.
Well, of course.
Anyone who knows me will tell you that for me it's a 24/7 thing. Always training, always watching tape, always reviewing, always doing promos.
You have to. That's how
everything.
Yeah, that's how you build yourself that way, right?
Absolutely.
And if you guys want to know a little bit more about Kevin Kross, make sure to check out all the links underneath. The links to his Facebook, to his Twitter, to his YouTube pages on there. Give him a shout. Just check it out, because the guy itself, as he says, he trains continuously 24/7. The guy has continuous ideas that he writes down, from my understanding, day and night. You wake up in the middle of the night and you write down ideas because you're like, hey, this is actually a pretty good, interesting concept.
I will literally wake up out of my sleep and I will write something down and wake up the following morning and not know how that got there on paper. So,
hey, man, that's how the best ideas come to be. Now,
yeah.
We talked about you are the FSW champion. Finally, the Kross conspiracy that was a couple of years ago now is coming to a hold, and you now hold that FSW title. First and foremost, how does it feel?
You know what? It feels very good, but
of course,
there's a real responsibility and accountability being the champion of any company, and I take that very seriously.
Mm-hmm.
But it feels good. I like a challenge. I've always been like that. I've always tried to challenge myself and find the next best challenge. So that's kind of the track we're on.
And that's exactly what you need to do as a champion too, right? Take on any type of challengers. And you've done a great job. You're able to actually attract audience. And you're one of the reasons why some of the audiences actually sell out the arenas that FSW goes to. Now, when you won the championship, you obviously had a vision for FSW. Now, you've talked before saying how you have your own personal vision for the promotion. What is that vision? Can you share a little bit of what that concept is?
Absolutely. Right from the very beginning, it's always great to have an opportunity, to earn an opportunity to be able to contribute to this business. And, I've said it before and I'll say it again. I didn't want to just be another guy on the card. I didn't want to just be another indie wrestler who's trying to make it to the big time. I wanted to be someone where if I showed up, I was going to have just a little bit more extra of something.
Yeah.
And sometimes you don't necessarily know what that is. You got to get into those waters and you got to find it.
Mm-hmm.
I pride myself on my ability to engage an audience. I fully believe that everything that I do is about engaging an audience. You can show anybody a wrestling move, and either they've seen it or they haven't. But ultimately, I don't believe that people come to wrestling shows to watch wrestling moves. I believe that people come to wrestling shows to watch and engage in the stories that we're going to tell them. And I pride myself on the ability to be able to engage them, and that's what I try to do every single show. As far as my vision for FSW, I wanted to contribute to the company in a way where I would be able to take FSW out of Las Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
That's my contribution. And obviously it can't happen just from one person, but the best things in life, in history, have always started with one person, believing in something and doing something. And I believe that show has the ability to get on the road and go anywhere. The guys there are the hungriest I've ever seen. We offer different flavors of professional wrestling, from strong style to classic to high flying. We have everything. And
Oh, yeah, it's great. It's a great stable all around.
absolutely.
Or a great locker room.
Yeah, we have guys that come in from everywhere through that place. Former WWE, Impact, ROH, New Japan, Premier, Evolve. We have everyone from everywhere come through this place. People are constantly learning. Shows constantly get better. And, it's not just a gimmick. I believe that FSW literally has the future stars of tomorrow.
Yep, and that's the one thing that I like that you said. It's like a lot of people compete to go to the biggest league of them all. Obviously, WWE is the top tier promotion. A lot of people compete to go there, but it's different competing for a promotion. And you're like, you know what? I don't need to go there. I actually want to focus on this and make it to that caliber. Whereas it can be competition, it can be considered competition, and that's exactly what you've done with FSW too. And as lately since you've been champion, I've been hearing more about FSW. I've been hearing more about, obviously, Kevin Kross. I've been hearing more about the talents that are being output from there, and it's remarkable to see what's capable of coming out of a small, obviously, territorial promotion, but it's exploding on the scene. And speaking of FSW, you obviously worked for multiple promotions. You've done a couple of shows here and there. Do you consider FSW one of the better promotions to work for, and why?
Absolutely, 100%. And again, it's one of the best promotions to work for because, A, the fans are some of the most passionate fans that I've ever been in front of, period. They love professional wrestling, and they are willing to be entertained. You'll go to some places, and, I accept all demographics of fans. The critics, the people who don't even like wrestling.
Yeah.
I love being able to get in front of people who don't like wrestling or have never watched wrestling and be able to turn them on to the product. I have always said this too, right from the very beginning. I'm 100% confident in being able to engage a pro wrestling audience. Every pro wrestler should. But what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get the people that don't even watch wrestling, that can sit back and just see something that I'm doing for a brief moment and go, this is interesting, just long enough so they can actually give what we do a shot. And you make something out of them. For me, that's one of the most fulfilling things I could possibly do, is to show somebody what we love when they don't get it or don't like it, and we turn them on to it. FSW has that ability to do that.
Yep.
And, I believe that, again, you have a locker room full of people that really care. There's not a single person in that locker room that's smoking a cigarette in the back, and they're just like, all right, we're just going to go out there and do this, this, and this. We got their money, and we're out of here. Like a lot of I'm not calling anybody out. You are who you are. It is what it is. But you have a lot of guys, and you can tell right away that they just give you the bare minimum. Nobody in FSW is about that at all.
Yep.
Everyone's going out there with the possibility that they might not be able to walk back through the curtain. And, there's pros and cons to that. But, people are going to get their money's worth.
Yeah, and it's a mentality that it worked a long time ago, obviously, for WWE Attitude Era, where pretty much everyone wanted to go out there and beat the other promotion or beat the other talents ahead of them. Pretty much, you want to be the star of the show, and that's one thing that I love about FSW. Now, let's talk about Paulie Cover. You and him obviously have had your fair share of confrontations as of late. But on an honest opinion of the guy, how do you believe he's helped FSW since he's taken over?
Paulie Cover's actually done a lot for Future Stars of Wrestling. He is a radio show host, and he has promoted Future Stars of Wrestling to a great degree out of his passion for that place. He's not in a position, where he's, somebody's twisting his arm to do it. He really cares about that place. He's trying to get the name out there, and he's booked and created a lot of really great matches for the company, and there's no arguing that. I don't necessarily have a problem with the way Paulie operates, but I do have a problem with the guy Paulie portrays himself to be versus who he really is. And I won't bash him, publicly. Paulie and I, we used to be friends.
You will physically, but not publicly.
Well, maybe that too. Him and I used to be very close friends, but since he got into that position, being commissioner of a company, it can be stressful, and I am a very stressful person to deal with. So, that is what it is.
Oh, really? I never noticed you were a stressful person to deal with.
You can't believe it.
No, because the one thing about Polycover too is, do you believe that he's actually representing that company how it's supposed to be represented? Pretty much a company that's edgy, that you never know what's going to happen next, and something that's you can make you wanting more at the end.
Mm-hmm. He has a really hard job, but that's the job he signed up for, and I'm not here to make it any easier for him.
Yeah, no, of course not, and that's probably why everyone loves you too for it.
That's
because
exactly
you always got to have the one guy against the big boss, right?
ticket sales. Well, it's just natural. We're mammals. The whole entire concept of the idea of society and order is completely unnatural. So, and I like to just be myself. I'm not really a guy who kind of goes with the flow. The flow typically goes down, and at the bottom of it, you have an abundance of people who have lost their smile or feel underappreciated, and I go my own way.
Exactly. Yeah. Speaking, if you guys don't follow Kevin Kross on Facebook, you should. You are very poetic, as I'm going to put it, and you're posting on there. Can you give me a little insight, just kind of as a blurb, about what the whole Christopher Walken thing? You're having your buddies dinner with them. They're your friends. You just have dinner with them at random.
Yes.
Anyways,
random
though,
location,
but
New York City with Andy Dick
exactly.
and Gilbert.
Gilbert Gottfried, that bastard. He's always a bastard. Let's go into a harder question here. Obviously, there's been some speculation. Since you've won the FSW Championship, you have been more absent from Paragon Pro Wrestling, West Coast Championship Wrestling. Are you able to give us any updates and status? What's going on with those promotions? I know some fans have asked you that. Obviously, we don't get a clear indication of what's happened, and I don't blame you, but is there any way that you can kind of dig deep and let us know what's going on?
Yeah, so I'm no longer with Paragon Pro Wrestling, and I'm no longer with WCWC.
No? Okay.
Yeah.
There you go, folks. He's no longer there, so
Yeah.
Stop asking.
No longer there. And I appreciate the affection and the support from the fan base, but I'm not going to mislead anyone, and I don't think the company should mislead anyone, whether it's direct or indirectly, that I am going to be coming back, because I have no intentions whatsoever of coming back. And what I can say is I love everybody to death from both of those locker rooms. I have nothing negative whatsoever to say about my experiences with the company. I really enjoyed it. It's just, I think the underlying issues that have not just been mine, but have been inherited by dozens of others, will eventually surface to the top. But out of professional courtesy, I'm not going to get into why I won't be returning. And the cream always rises to the top, and I think
I got you. So it's more of a thing where it's like, you know what, it's just stuff happened. I'm not going to be going back there. You appreciate everyone that's wrestling, because you've had good matches with both promotions.
Yeah, listen. I mean, Lenny the Grappler Denton, and Gangrel David Heath.
Yep.
They bestowed a lot of, they just created a very educational environment for me to grow in, and the opportunity to be able to work in front of the people in Oregon, and continue to work the demographic that I've been working here in Vegas at Paragon. It was awesome. Those are priceless experiences, and I'm not ungrateful for any of that.
Mm-hmm.
It's always professional. I always did what I was told. But there's certain individuals that just out of my own personal integrity, I would not be able to continue working with. Certain other people were very unprofessional.
Okay.
Or a person was very unprofessional and tried to undermine my intelligence, and did so by speaking to the wrong people, I guess. And it's just a shame. I don't want to hurt the door, and I don't want to hurt the ticket sales of the companies, because, as I said, there was never an issue with anyone in the locker room, ever. I loved being there. I loved working with those people. But this is a very strange business full of very strange people.
Of course.
And everyone.
And you hear that a lot too when you watch a lot of documentary on wrestlers. They always have these issues with some type of indie promotion, or something's happened, and it kind of turns them away from that. Now, I know for you, it's not turning you away from the business, because the business itself you love, you have the passion for the business. Yeah, of course. But the thing is, like, obviously with some promotions, you don't want to be somewhere where, one, you don't feel that you're taken seriously. You're not taking, you're being taken advantage of, and specifically if you have somebody that's undermining you too, where it's like, okay, well, what. You got to listen to me sometimes. It can really affect your relationship with that promotion as well.
Absolutely. There's just some things in life, even beyond professional wrestling, beyond business, that people say things and do things. They're, it's just you just don't let certain things like that fly for your own self worth.
Was that kind of like a one-time thing, or did it happen kind of over a period of time?
Happened over a period of time.
Okay.
One particular person, I think, just not to put words in their mouth, just didn't agree with the things that I was doing outside of this business, which have actually made me very successful. And I've gotten praise from people respectfully that are much better off than he is and are doing much better than he is. And, respectfully, I value their opinions more than his. And just didn't agree with the things that I was doing. And I decided to listen to my peers and people who have been in the business for 20, 30, 40, 50 years, who are telling me what I'm doing is right, versus the person who's telling me what I'm doing is not necessarily wrong, but he doesn't like it.
Yeah, in his opinion, he doesn't like it.
You have to be able to separate yourself from the pack. This business is about being innovative. You can't just keep giving people the same regurgitated nonsense. Then you're undermining the intelligence of the audience. And as I said, and I'm dead serious when I say this, like it's not a cliche thing when I tell you this. I am all about 100% engaging the people that are paying attention to me. That's what this is all supposed to be about. And if you're just giving them the same redundant stuff that they could see anywhere, I mean, what are we doing?
There's nothing to draw you to you.
No.
And that's the one thing I like about indie shows too, is because when you actually yell at the ring, when you interact with the stars too, with the talents, they interact back with you, and it makes you feel that you're a part of the show as well. 100%. And that's what you do as well with your fan base. And I've seen it, and you know what, it's funny to watch you interact with them sometimes too, like taking signs, ripping it up, yelling at guys, or laughing in their face. It's the simple things, but they matter over a period of time as well.
100%. And just the content that you are projecting to people is very important.
Now, was there ever one point during a fan interaction that just really sticks in your mind?
There's a million, man. I mean, there's a million. It's really cool to think that in comparison to other people, the short time that I've been in this business, that I have timeless memories right now. I can't even imagine the memories I'm going to have in 10 years from now. One thing that happened that was really, really funny was, so when I started really getting a following, which was relatively early, when I first started wrestling, a lot of the guys that had been around longer than I had, they were in a heckling way. They didn't mean it in a real bad way, but kind of a heckling, like, what's the deal with Kevin Kross? Like, I don't know, what's the big deal? I don't know what's going on there. Everyone's drinking the Kool-Aid. That became like a saying. everyone's drinking the Kevin Kross Kool-Aid. We don't see what the big deal is and stuff. And they said it in a sort of a heckling way, and they were half serious, I think.
Yeah.
But so the fans caught on to that, and so what the fans did was, just to irritate the boys in the back, they they bought the packets of Kool-Aid and then printed my pictures off of online and then put my picture on the pack of Kool-Aid. I swear to God. And we're handing them out at the show. And I had like this Kross Kool-Aid. So my picture was all over these Kool-Aid packets.
And it tells you folks...
Really wacky shit.
And it tells you how behind these fans are with you too. It's how much faith they put into you too, because frankly you are an entertaining character as hell, and the fact that somebody can go out of the way to do that, just very similar how one fan did the Cesaro section at WWE, printed a 20,000 Prince of Cesaro section. It's very similar, where the fans are so behind you that they have faith in you and will give their time to do that. It's a lot of fans too will do artwork. I've seen some fans do artwork of you as well.
Yeah. I get a lot of artwork, and I get a lot of pictures from people who are creating me in the WWE game. That blows my mind. I don't think that's something that I'm ever going to I haven't warmed up to any of this at all. I don't think I ever will. I'm a very grounded person, and I really don't take anything for granted. And when I see stuff like that, for me to be able to remain within somebody's thoughts with a day-to-day life, family, friends, 9-to-5 job, grievances, the fact that they will be able to, retain the things that I'm doing and saying, that's amazing to me. I love that. That's, again, one of those flattering things that's priceless. I get the pictures of me being in the video games and, the artwork and stuff and so forth that you've seen. It's awesome. It really, really, really is amazing. And I'm surprised more people don't go into how blown away they are by this. I don't know. It's awesome. It's really awesome.
Well, you know what? It's surprising too. Like I'm not downgrading you in any way, shape, or form. 2 years you have been in the business, and you have
Even yet.
not even, which is surprising. Not many, like you have many guys wrestling for 5 years, 6 years in the indie scene, not doing anything. And all of a sudden, okay, they get a little exposure here, but dude, not even 2 years, and you have exploded. Not only so much to a point that you actually got contacted by Global Force Wrestling.
Yes.
So you had the wonderful privilege to be a part of the first few TV tapings of Global Force Amped.
Yes.
Which, by the way, congratulations on that. Your first match on Global Force was against Bobby Roode, a great talent in the wrestling industry, let alone.
One of the best in the world.
Exactly. And I remember seeing him at House of Hardcore, and that man blew my mind. He's just a great talent and a great guy. Once again, very similar to what you say, where you interact with the audience. Whether he's a face, whether he's a heel, he interacts with the audience. And frankly, he tracks you to him. But when we talk about Global Force Wrestling, what are your thoughts of being part of the very first few episodes of Amped?
Well, without saying too much, without blowing anything, I've seen some of the production stuff that they're doing right now with the matches and the promos and the vignettes, and it is something completely fresh. People are going to be really excited. This isn't any hype either. Mm-hmm. I'm telling you honestly, when you guys see this, once this hits television or it hits the YouTube and the websites and stuff like that, the guys that are behind this, I don't know if they want me to mention their names, so I won't, but the people that are putting this together, the booking team, all of the guys, it's an amazing project. The vibe in the locker room is one of the best that I've probably ever been around in my life. It's all of the top professionals in the world that are there. And again, that's another place. It's a siphon of knowledge. It's a place where you can learn so much so quickly. Mm-hmm. The crowd there is awesome. The entire setup is awesome. I'm just very honored and privileged to be able to be a part of something new that's taking off. And I think people are going to be really impressed. It has a very strong ESPN reality vibe to it. And it's something that people have not seen yet in professional wrestling, so it's going to be a really, really cool type of flavor or projection, whatever you like to kind of refer to it as, but very happy to be a part of it.
Cool question for you. Wrestling in that ring, because obviously Jeff Jarrett has the TNA style ring. Is it any different from a 4-squared ring? Because I've heard before from TNA talents that they said, like, when those ropes are much more harder to be able to run on.
You know what? Not to toot my own horn, obviously wrestling, boxing, and kickboxing are three completely different things. There's aspects of all three that, you can kind of find their like parallel experiences. But I've grown up in rings, and obviously, the very, very first 6-sided ring I was in was with Global Force, but I'm more comfortable like in a ring than like in my own bed. I've grown up. I've like fallen asleep in rings. Like I was, I don't know if I'd said this on this podcast, but like being a little boy, like I remember going to sleep at night in my own room, and then I would wake up at like 6:15 a.m. My father was taking me, he took me out of my bed, put me in the car, and then I woke up in a boxing gym, and he was, mauling somebody in the ring. Like my whole life has been spent in gyms, around rings, in rings. The 6-sided ring didn't really
phase you at all or anything?
No, not at all.
Okay.
Not at all. I mean, it's hard to explain, but not at all. It's a lot of fun. I had no problems whatsoever navigating that ring. It's very cool.
So, talking about Global Force Wrestling, obviously, you were handpicked as an FSW representative to fight with Global Force Wrestling, which was actually quite amazing, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And when initially Jeff Jarrett kind of sent that request out, immediately when they commented on FSW, because it's very local, it's Las Vegas localized as well with Global Force Wrestling, my head, I'm like, okay, they got to say Kross. And next thing I know, I see the video of Cover telling you, okay, you're going to be there. So that was pretty cool to hear. But when it came to Jeff Jarrett, you did some traveling with him to do some promotion for the shows as a representative for FSW. How did that feel, being able to travel with such a legend in the business and sit beside him talking on national television about Global Force Wrestling?
Without sounding like a huge mark, it was pretty surreal.
Oh, of course. Once again, not even 2 years, folks. Not even 2 years in the business and already traveling with Jeff Jarrett.
It was pretty awesome. But again, it's like I said, I'm not trying to talk the talk without being able to walk the walk. I'm not trying to go into waters that I don't belong in. I'm not trying to do things that are outside or beyond my reach. And I hate to sound like a broken record, but I'm preparing myself every single day for possibly being unprepared, if that makes sense. I over prepare myself for situations and circumstances specifically like that. Or, in the ring, anything that this business in the many directions that it has to offer can kind of throw at me. I'm ready to do it. I'm ready to go.
Of course.
When he asked me to do it, I was very happy. I mean,
what are you going to say? No? Like, yeah, okay, no.
Yeah, really, really happy to do it. I was really happy to do it. And to be able to be the local guy here for Global Force, to be the local guy for the fans here, that's amazing. Like that's not something that you can even really kind of create. That's not even something that you can you can't create that situation or scenario. That's either given to you on faith and hard work, or it's not.
Yeah.
You can't
there's a reason
somebody who's running a company and say, I'm the guy. It doesn't work.
No, of course. And there's a reason why they're handpicking to you too. Obviously, they see this potential in you. As does many other guys. For one example, you're a big fan, and as was I for ECW. Taz was a huge guy for ECW. Small stature, but the guy itself, he was human suplex machine, man. Like, he was all over the place. And as of lately, he did a contest, pretty much asking for minute promos about why you would be champion, and you entered yours, and he picked yours, and specifically gave you a shout out on the Taz podcast, pretty much saying that this guy was good, this guy was really good. How did that make you feel? I saw some videos that you posted on Facebook, and you're just yelling out in happiness, and I can understand why.
I think my neighbors thought I won the lottery.
I don't blame them. In a way, this is kind of like a lottery win.
Yeah, I mean, this is the compressed version of that story. So, Taz, I saw something on Twitter that said that he had made a departure from TNA, and I was like, wonder what happened, because he was there for a while doing commentary and so forth. Yep. So, I pulled up his page to see, maybe like what could have possibly been wrong. I'm thinking maybe he's coming to Global. I don't know, So.
Oh man, that would be exciting.
Yeah, just being inquisitive. And then I see the very top posting is he opens the issue challenge. He issues the challenge for anyone to basically just come on and cut a promo about that. And there didn't seem to be a lot of parameters. And
there wasn't any parameters.
No, there wasn't. So I went on there and I literally just put my phone down and I was like, I'm gonna do this right now. Put on a Paul Heyman shirt. Nobody mentioned that, by the way. I was wearing a Paul Heyman shirt. I'm a Paul Heyman guy. The video's up.
Oh, yeah.
You can find it.
Oh, so am I. Trust me.
Yeah. So put the Heyman shirt on and I basically put the phone up and I recorded it and I emailed it to him right away. Just did it in one shot. Boom. Done. Sent it. And when I was listening to the podcast, I just remember I was like, he went through so many of them. The whole time I'm just like, oh, man. It's probably like 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 promos that were sent in. I was like, I'm such an idiot why I would think that my promo would get pulled out of this and he would say something. I'm like, I'm so stupid. Like, I don't know, was this like an egocentric moment that I thought he was really going to pull it out? And all of a sudden, the last promo he pulls is mine. And I was like, oh, my God. And then his reaction to it was what it was. It
was priceless. It was priceless.
Yeah, so I mean, I hope that he didn't wind up getting offended that I'm on the circuit, but I didn't know, you know what I mean? And again, it's he's one of my peers. He's somebody I've always looked up to before I even started training. That, like, I mean, what he was doing was and appeared and looked to be the most legitimate thing going in pro wrestling at that time. That was the guy that when you were walking down the street and you happened to be walking in front of him, that you would consider crossing the street. Yeah. Like, that was that guy. You know what I mean?
No, and he was so, very different because his stature was small. He wasn't a tall guy. He was built, but he wasn't overly large. So it's like, him being so mean looking, so kind of aggressive that you're like, holy crap, this little guy's going to bite my head off.
Yeah, and for me, like, the big thing for Taz was, like, I came from a legitimate background. Like, my family was all boxers and wrestlers. And I grew up around that atmosphere. So for me, it was really cool to watch something in pro wrestling where it was like, seeing somebody that looked like the people in my family and what they would do to people in a pro wrestling ring as a child watching that. Like, he was using all the Greco-Roman and the judo and he was using the freestyle and the catch and the jits. He was using all that. And I was just like, this is really awesome. As a kid, I was like, this is the guy that I want to wrestle like when I get older.
Yeah.
And, his size and stature as a child never even occurred to me until he was in the ring with like 911 or like, these.
Oh, he was tiny.
Garlands. And then he's launching them. Bam Bam, those matches were like, those were untouchable.
No, Bam Bam Bigelow, that was an amazing match. I remember him going through the kind of ramp area that they had there. I was like, what the hell did I just see?
Yeah.
But that's actually, it brings up a question actually, is when it comes to Taz, you also have a submission move, which is very similar to the Taz mission. Is that where you actually got that from?
Oh, it's the Taz mission.
Oh, it's just straight out of the Taz mission.
The very first match that I ever won, I won with the Taz mission. And, I won a lot of competitions, and unfortunately, when I was bouncing, I had to use a rear choke a couple times. But yeah,
those are always so much fun, ladies and gentlemen.
I didn't want to use the rear choke because I was really using that in real life, and I just wanted to get away from that. But I was always a fan of the Taz mission. I did it, and I think the people that were in charge were like, come up for another name with it, because calling it the Taz mission, people are hearing the Taz's name, they're going to want to see Taz. You know what I mean? It's
no, of course. Yeah.
Anyone who's ever used the Stone Cold Stunner has never called it the Stone Cold Stunner. They called it like the Apocalypse or whatever. Beefcake was using it back a long time ago. Like WCW.
The worst beefcake.
But we called it the Brand X choke.
Yeah. Brand X. Okay, yeah, I think I remember that. I remember hearing it once. I just can't remember the name of it. But you mentioned winning. Now I got to say this, obviously, ladies and gentlemen. This guy's been in the wrestling industry for less than 2 years. You're going what? Correct me if I'm wrong. 555 days undefeated.
Yep, not pinned, not submitted in FSW.
That is amazing. Now, obviously, that isn't FSW. Just gonna point that out. But nonetheless, that is an amazing streak, and I really hope it continues. Do you see any end to it?
No.
No, that's the answer you gotta say. There is no end to that. Well, let's change subjects here. A couple months ago, you and Alexander Hammerstone were rumored to be at WWE Hell in a Cell backstage. Now, obviously, that did a flurry of social media. Oh my God! Can you give us any more detail as to why you guys were there?
Well, the rumors are true.
Oh!
Yeah, the rumors are 100% true. Alex and I were backstage for several events. It was really crazy, actually. We weren't promoting it. We didn't say a word about it, actually. We kept it to ourselves.
It was rumored throughout, obviously, social media sites and stuff like that. So
we were just like, we literally showed up to the event, and like, there's a million things on our minds. We're there just minding our business,
of course,
P's and Q's. Yeah. And all of a sudden we're walking in, it's Hammerstone and Kross! Like, what? Really? So, I mean, look, we're not, humbly, we're not famous by any stretch of the imagination, especially in California. I would expect a lot of people to know who Hammerstone is in California. I haven't been out to California too much. People started taking our pictures, and they were screaming at us. So we were like, all right, well, I mean, we're not to blame here.
Yeah, of course
not saying anything. We didn't do anything. And then my Twitter starts getting hit up, and it was there. So
it's always pretty good though to actually get that exposure as well, because awesome. Frankly, with WWE, that's something that they also look at too. Exposure, how much like fan base does this guy have? How is he good for the wrestling industry? So I in any way, I don't think it was bad on you and Alexander's part to be able to get noticed at those events. Now, speaking about those, obviously, the backstage of WWE, I guarantee, is extremely different compared to Global Force Wrestling, compared to FSW. Can you give us any type of insight of, like, how crazy it can be backstage? Like, do you have time to talk to a lot of people? Do you not? Are you pretty much in a room just watching the event until somebody says, hey, you're being used?
Well, it's case by case. So, everyone has a different thing going. Just out of professional courtesy, and respectfully, I can't get into the details of exactly.
Of course, whatever you can.
You know what I mean? But, what I can say is it's very easy to see how WWE has completely monopolized the professional wrestling industry on a world level when you just look at the operations that are going on backstage. Mm-hmm. Like, this is a massive company with multiple departments that are all doing a million different things all around you at once. Like, Alex and I just had a moment where we literally looked down to the ground and we were like, do you see how many wires are on the floor? There are wires everywhere. up the wall, on the ceiling, and they go for miles, all up and around and in circles all over the building, all over the set. And just to think that there's a group of people that lay all of that down, never mind the wrestling, never mind the pyro, never mind the lighting, and how they all, like a music band, like just kind of come together without blowing each other up and electrocuting each other and blowing up the building. Like, it's incredible. It is a massive machine. And it's, not only was it a humbling experience, it's just like, I don't know, I had this overall greater sense of like gratefulness, even just like beyond being like a professional wrestler. Just, you know, the little kid in me in the back of my mind is just like, this has been going on since day one. Like, the very first memory I ever had of pro wrestling was when the Ultimate Warrior beat Hogan and he was standing over him with the belts. And it's like,
in Toronto, right?
Yeah, like from the moment that the very first memory I've ever had of wrestling, which was like, I think the very first memory I can actually even remember having was wrestling. You know, this has been going on. Like, how much you have to love this business, how much you have to love engaging people, how much you have to love doing this night in and night out. It's a grind, but it's a grind that they enjoy because everyone's doing what they love, right?
Yeah, of course.
So it's just being able to appreciate the passion and the fulfillment that people have from getting out of that and going state to state, show to show, you know, away on holidays, away from family. It's amazing. I mean, it was very, very cool.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, I believe it was the Raw after Hell in a Cell, and Alexander Hammerstone was actually used for a segment on Raw that was he was security for Tyler Breeze in his VIP section.
Tyler Breeze was like Tyler Breeze Jr. and Hammerstone was like Tyler Breeze Sr.
I can see that too. I was actually looking for you because I'm like, okay, well, if he's there, Kross has got to be there somewhere, and I couldn't see you anywhere. So obviously they were like, we're gonna save you by the looks of it.
Sure.
So obviously that begs up the question: can you verify if WWE has their eyes on you?
Yes.
That's always a good thing. Yeah. That's a good thing.
Yes, but I mean, I'm not putting words in anyone's mouth. Just say yes.
No, of course, and that, you know what, it's something that, like I said, we've watched WWE since as far as we can remember, and it's got to be amazing for you, and I can't even begin to experience how you feel about being actually backstage and being able to kind of just look around and be like, holy shit, there's a WWE logos everywhere, and I can be a part of this. So that's you know, it's remarkable, and I want to say congratulations to you. You were in this, you worked your ass off, and frankly, I can't wait to see you kind of come on TV again, man. First time was with Darren Young, and that was kind of a short moment where you guys kind of got handed by the Ascension, who is pretty much used as crap right now, but nonetheless.
They're
you
awesome,
mentioned,
by the way.
They are, and to be honest with you, I'm not going to get into this. I got into this before on one of my podcasts, but it's more along the lines of, you see the differences based off NXT and WWE and how things are run. You know, NXT, they were a successful, long-lasting NXT Tag Team Champions, and then you come in WWE and they're just used as a joke. And I'm not going to get into that. That was discussed at a later point in time. You mentioned on Facebook a couple days ago that great things are coming specifically, and then you did a bunch of hashtags. You're a hashtag man.
Yes.
You did a bunch of hashtags with different languages. Can you go into any more detail about that? What is that specific? Oh, you bastard!
Nope, I can't because I was asked not to. But something very interesting is going to be happening over the next 2 or 3 months, and I'll just leave it at that. So keep your eyes open.
Are you going to Japan?
Can't say.
Damn it! Why the hell won't you say it?
All right, that's putting those feels out there. That's all. Something very awesome is going to be happening soon. Very excited about it. I can't say anything beyond that, though.
Okay. You know what? I'm not going to push it, though I want to. You're an avid fan of various Japanese style fighting, Japanese, Chinese, everything. What is your favorite and why? What is it? What attracts you to their different type? Unfortunately, I can't remember the name of them. I'll admit I'm not an avid watcher of a lot of Japanese fighting styles, obviously. So I'm not sure like what the names are, what the different styles are. Obviously, you're a lot more in tune with that. Can you give us any more details? Why you like watching it? What's your favorite and why?
Yep, I would tell you right off the bat, my favorite martial art to watch has got to be Kyokushinkai, which is a very old form of karate that was arguably invented by oh my god, his name's going to escape me.
Of course it is.
I need to be knocked out. Got this.
You can come back to it.
That'll come back to me. But anyways, this guy who invented this, he refined this martial art, let's just say, because there's lots of different forms of karate. He used to punch bulls in the head, and he would kill them.
Oh.
Yeah,
Oh.
it's all
right.
energy, and weight transfer.
Okay.
So, yeah, I like to watch a lot of karate competitions, but out of Japan, because the way karate's taught anywhere else in the world versus the way it's taught in Japan is very different, even if it's called the same thing.
Yep.
So, yeah.
And you competed in Japan a couple of months back as well.
I did. And Genome Federation was awesome. I don't think I'll be going back there, though.
No? Is it?
Not for IGF. For IGF. Maybe too strong.
Oh, maybe. Did you have any issues there with them, or
no, I didn't have any issues. It was awesome. I met Antonio Inoki. It was a pleasure working for him. And actually met Jinder Mahal and Mason Ryan and Knox over in Japan, and that was awesome. Being able to travel with them, they smartened me up to a lot of things going on. I just think, I maybe too strong.
Okay. Oh, I see. Is that kind of a hint?
Maybe too strong for strong style. I don't know.
Well, there you go. I gotta ask. I've seen you compete. I've seen your attire. What's with the glasses?
The glasses.
The flip glasses. The aviator ones. Did they have any specific meaning? Where did you Did you just find them one day? And you're like, that's different. Let's try that.
Nope. Paying homage to Brian Pillman.
Oh, okay. See, I would have never gotten that.
I am a man. I don't know if, aside from the actual wrestling and the technical ability of anyone that's ever inspired me or impressed me in the ring since I was a small child, I think Brian Pillman has left the biggest presence to me. This is a guy that we're never going to see anybody like Pillman ever again. Never. For a performance art where people think they know what's going on, and they're positive that they know what's going on, Pillman was a guy where when he walked into a room, you didn't know if it was real or not. Anything he was doing, you had no idea. That is amazing. That cannot be taught. You cannot show somebody how to do that.
Mm-hmm.
He was just incredible. It's like
you didn't know what he was going to do next.
No, words elude me when I try to think of how to describe Pillman and the inspiration that he's given to me. I can only hope to be able to follow something like that. You know what I mean? Even be revered or compared to somebody like that. Not because somebody looks like him or not because somebody wrestles like him, but to give people something where they just stop and they go, this is real. And that's what's going on in the ring is really bad and it's terrible and this guy's absolutely out of his mind. That, I think, that to me is pro wrestling. Mm-hmm. That's pro wrestling to me. It's not the headlocks. And it's not the drop kicks. It's getting in front of people and you got them. Boom.
It's pretty much the unexpected. The unexpected is what really attracts people to you. A lot of times, when you have the same characters, as you said before, it's you got to give something different in this business. Otherwise, what's the point of watching you? So I think that in your case, you do a lot of unexpected things in the ring, a lot of unexpected things with your promos too, and that's a big plus, obviously, because that's one of the reasons why you've been attracted by so many people. And yeah, so okay, that makes a little bit more sense. I was always wondering about those glasses. I'm like, did he just find them at a garage sale and was kind of thinking to himself, hey, those are pretty cool?
It was Pillman, it was Woody Harrelson from Natural Born Killers, it was John Lennon, and a movie called Dark City, which I was obsessed with for a very long time. If you haven't seen it, check it out. It's a very, very interesting film. But mainly it was Pillman. It was all Pillman. Just his visuals and the things that he was doing, they were odd, and it made you... It drew you in,
Yeah, he was a very interesting character. Is the only way I can really put it.
For me, it was like growing up. I had my favorites. I had Warrior. I had Diesel. As a little boy, I was a huge Diesel mark.
Oh no, so was I.
Yeah, that was awesome. But in terms of people that I found magnetic, it was Pillman, Taz, and then. From Taz, I got into Gary Albright,
Okay.
Stan Hansen, Dr. Death Steve Williams. And you'll see a lot of what I do now. A lot of that was from them.
Yeah.
In terms of mat work and ring work, those guys, and Volkan, nobody ever knows who he is, but I'll put his name out there anyways. If you're a wrestling nerd like me, you'll find out who he is. Volkhan. He wrestled,
Search him.
Yeah, UWFI. That was awesome.
And you know what? That's something that I've heard too, is that in the wrestling industry, you can be your own original character, but it never hurts to take little bits and pieces from guys that you looked up to as well, because you can create a unique individual. Because you know what, last thing you want to do is pretty much copy somebody else, and it's more along the lines of they're just going to look at you and be like, okay, well you're this person 2.0. So what you've done is just taking little bits of everyone else. It does help because it creates a unique personality and unique person, a unique talent, and once again, one of the reasons why a lot of people are going around to you. Obviously, that's the end of my question. So I got some fan questions for you. So one from Noble Daniel Jackson: how long have you been involved in wrestling? Obviously, we've talked about that, but...
Well, wrestling as a sport, since I was a little boy. When I learned to walk, I probably learned my double legs and my singles, but from a business standpoint, just under 2 years.
That's amazing, too.
The very first month I started training, I was wrestling.
And where did you start training?
Future Stars of Wrestling Academy with Mike Modest.
Oh, so you actually started training at those academies then?
I did.
And from my understanding, I'm just going to go a little off topic here. Well, not really off topic at all, but you actually had a training session today, correct?
Yes.
Do you train or do you get trained? Because from my understanding, you also train talents on character building.
Yeah, Mondays we do like a television and promo class. So, basically just doing our absolute best to try to bring out the best version of somebody.
Okay.
That's basically what we try to do.
And do you run that, or is it run by somebody else?
Nope.
Wow.
Mondays I teach.
Fucking hell, man. Under 2 years and you're already teaching guys. Chris Wetz asks, I see that you have a degree in psychology. I
may.
You may, okay. Have you used it in the clinical setting, and because it's working so well for you on your mic skills in the ring?
Yes, and without putting people's personal information out there, I was, or I guess am, if you look at it as a philosophy, a family mediator, a corporate mediator, and how about just a mediator?
Oh, okay, there you go. That works.
How about it?
So have you, I take it that you've used your knowledge and education in the ring as well, though, right? To kind of wear down in talents, to wear down competitors.
From a competitive standpoint, yeah. I don't think I've ever really used my my white collar educational. I don't think I've ever used that in the ring. Maybe I have subconsciously. It's hard to turn stuff off once it becomes second nature. Maybe I do, maybe I don't. I know I still screen people. I can't help it for being nuts or out of their mind or having issues. It's just,
that works.
It is. But
I love how you screen people. By the way,
mirror.
You being the
mirror.
But okay, so that's pretty interesting then.
To be honest with you, the way I was raised, I don't know if this is a bad thing, but anyone who's ever been raised in a wrestling family or a boxing family, you learn psychology through a lot of competitive full contact sports. Mm-hmm. That's like, I hope everyone else did, because I did. I hope that's not weird. I learned which way people want to move when you hit them, how people want to react when you hit them. Just beyond fight or flight, where people's hands are going to be, when they're going to breathe, when they're about to hit, or how they breathe when they get scared, or what they want to do when you got them in a choke or a vice or something. I learned a lot of really heavy psychology with combat arts growing up. That was like a part of my life. Mm-hmm. And it was even more important to learn that psychology of how people were going to react, what they were going to do, what they were going to say when you were applying pressure or being hostile with them. It was even actually more important to know that than to even know the holds and the strikes, because then you could just work through the basics.
Yep.
So,
and sometimes, you know what, you have a lot of great wrestlers out there who didn't have, the holds and the strikes. Stone Cold Steve Austin was very limited on his submission styles, but he was very aggressive. He knew how to take down a guy.
Sure. I meant like shoot, like legitimately. I grew up like that. But if you apply it to the wrestling thing, I got to say this since you brought his name up. Stone Cold was another guy, and still is to this day. I still watch his stuff at least every week. I learned something from watching him every time I see him, never mind from just a point of engagement, I think he's been the most successful ever. That's my opinion. But
I'm there with you.
just from a ring work standpoint, Austin knew a million different submissions. But how he engaged people and what people like to see and what he did best was beat the living shit out of people.
Oh yeah, of course.
Why would he need to do anything else beyond? You know what I mean? He doesn't need a single leg Boston Crab or needs to do a Fujiwara armbar. He'll just put you in the corner and he'll kick all of your teeth out, including the ones in the back of your mouth. So
yeah, the best thing I loved about him is that whenever he started his match, didn't clinch or anything. He just started punching right away, and I'm like, fuck yeah, okay, we're already getting into this.
See that he made it a fight, and that's not to get too much into it because maybe this isn't the time or place, but that is an art in professional wrestling that is dying really fast. Is the ability to project a fight, because a lot of people will agree with me if you're honest when I say this. I mean, you know when people are in a ring whether someone's actually been in a fight or not, and something that's happening in the indies, and I'm not speaking from a pretentious standpoint, I'm just making a visual observation. There's a lot of guys that are on the indies that are doing a lot of really amazing stuff in the ring, death-defying moves, and people love it, and that's awesome.
Yep.
That's their brand, that's their flavor. But I mean, I feel like sometimes they're really getting away from the fact that we're trying to project a conflict, we're trying to project a fight, and we're trying to project competition. And I don't know, not to get too much into it, but
that's fine.
I guess really what I'm trying to say is like, I really admire and I love going back and watching some of the old stuff, even from Mid-South, from WCCW, just the way guys used to go after each other. You don't see that as much anymore.
No.
Like a perfect example.
It's a very controlled flow in the match. Whereas Austin went in and he still had control of it, but it wasn't so kind of gradually uprising where the match is starting to build slowly, but it's more along the lines of he just started strong and continued strong.
I talk to Disco about this all the time, or actually he talks to me about it. He opened up my mind to this type of stuff. He's brilliant, by the way. I'm not just trying to put him over. He's probably not even going to hear this or listen to this, and that's cool. But that's another guy who's from that era of people who really understood how to put a match together and how to engage an audience. It's like, people.
Hey man, I'll tell Disco you gave him a shout out. I'll have him listen.
Probably see you tomorrow, but like, there's a certain art that seems to be fading away. Guys like Triple H were using it. Guys like Austin and The Rock were using it, and people from that era. I mean, like, I go back and I watch people like Ray Stevens and Bockwinkel, and I actually have the pleasure of being able to work with people who are students out here in Vegas, like Jason Portain or Rush. These guys that work with FSW that are vets out here that have been in the business for a long time. Funny Bone, actually, if you've seen him in FSW, was a Bockwinkel student.
Was he really?
He was, yeah.
Oh.
There's something there. There's just two different cloths, I think, right now. Maybe I'll just leave it at that so I don't get crucified.
No worries.
Fuck up.
You said that your parents were into boxing, into like mixed martial arts and stuff like that. Can you go into more detail? Like, did they own a gym? Were they just doing this for hobby, or?
No, my father and my grandfather grew up in some very strange times, where I guess racism was more prominent, and they were just growing up and living in very hostile environments, New England area and New York specifically.
Yeah.
Boxing just became something that I think was a way of life. It was a means for them to protect themselves. They just grew up in different neighborhoods and lived all over the place and stuff. And I think boxing maybe became a form of survival and an art that was passed down in my family. Same thing with wrestling. It became part of our family culture. And they were able to make a sport out of it, I guess. Like, they were able to do it in a sports environment. Yeah. I'm grateful not to have grown up in that type of environment, but
not the first environment, but the after effects. Yes,
I think they got that good at what they did because there was actually like no choice. Like, they needed to be that good that they didn't own a gym, but my father worked with Roger Mayweather quite a bit.
Oh, okay.
He's worked with a lot of, like, honestly, I'm not going to like sit here and drop names, but he's worked with probably 20 or 30 of the top professional boxers all over the world. So did my grandfather as well. So did my uncles. They were just around that. They were in that type of environment where people were getting laid out. I remember, this is going to sound crazy. I remember just like waking up to people getting knocked out, like hearing a loud like wham, and I wake up as a kid and I'm just like, did like somebody drop a TV on the floor? And it's like there's like a guy on his head in the ring in the corner, and it was like a body shot. It wasn't even guys getting hit in the head. Like it was when I was growing up, and MMA was not a big deal.
Yeah.
Like when boxing had like the killers of killers, like there were guys that could just like punch through walls. Like that was the environment that I was in and around. So no gyms, no major claim to fame. But again, Hollywood and television would tell you that to have any sort of credibility, you have to do it on TV or something. It's not the case at all. Actually, the best guys in the world don't ever get signed to pro contracts because they're not the dependable face of the company. There's more politics and fighting than there ever will be in any other business in the world. And that's all I'll say about that.
No, and that's also in relation to wrestling, obviously, too. You have a lot of great guys in the indies that are not showcased on television, but frankly, they're not on television because they're either they're just not identified as being guys who can be portrayed as a main face, as you said, or they prefer not being on television because they prefer the indie scene. And that's what are your thoughts on that? Do you prefer the indie scene or would you prefer television?
I would prefer
more of a controlled.
I enjoy both though, because both of them are different flavors. It's nice to be able to work TV, and then it's nice to be able to work the indies. I don't shy away from any sort of fan demographic whatsoever. I want to engage all of them. If that means that I have to change and adapt, that's fine. I'm totally okay with that. That's how you grow. Like I said, I'm always putting myself in situations and circumstances that I may not be entirely comfortable with, but in order to be where I want to be in this business and to be able to show people that if they pass with the ball, I can run it home, which I've done every single time, then that's what you have to do. You know, I don't have the luxury of being, a 17-year-old kid who can just train in a very cavalier manner and maybe one day in my middle 20s, somebody's going to pick me up. I'm here. I want to do this now. I want to make the most of it, and I'm ready to put the work in, promote, self-promote, train, learn, whatever I have to do. We're going to get there.
Yep. And you actually do your own editing, everything on YouTube. So correct? You do your own videos and everything. So yeah, like I said, guys, you can check out Kevin Kross on all of his links on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. All links can be found at the bottom of this video. That's all the questions I have right now. I want to thank you for your time for being able to come on the MOC podcast again. I do appreciate that. And your shirt is coming, by the way. Exactly. Where can people find your shirts?
You know what? We'll post the link attached to the video. It's a Las Vegas FSW PayPal account. They can order them online, and FSW will mail them to people.
Awesome. And definitely shirts worth looking at. You got the Kevin Kross guy on there, and that's probably one of my favorite ones that you got. Do you have anything that you want to plug?
You know what? I just want to thank everyone for listening, to be honest with you. I've got dates 3 or 4 every month in Las Vegas from Future Stars of Wrestling. We have Academy shows, and then we also have hotel shows, which you can find on FSW online. You can add them on Facebook or Twitter, or you can add me on Twitter or Instagram,
there you go.
Or Facebook, and I'll tell you all about it.
Exactly.
Yeah. So
and so that'll be it for the MOC podcast. Kevin Kross, FSW champion. I wish you luck in your future to come, and I really do hope that you come back on the MOC podcast. And I guarantee a year from now, I don't know where the hell you'll be, but I know it'll be big times.
Probably in mental institute, but that's fine.
Oh, okay. But nonetheless, we'll get a camera in there. But anyways, guys, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to listen. This has been an episode of the MOC podcast. Maybe make sure to check back at www.mindofcarnage.com, where you can check out your wrestling news, information, recaps, everything to do with the wrestling world there. And also check out the Levels of Wrestling family on Podbean. Just search levelsofwrestling.podbean.com and you'll find us there. Kevin Kross, thank you so much. And for the time being, guys, I will be back with another episode of the MOC podcast next week. And as always, cause carnage, watch wrestling. Thanks for listening.
100%. And if you don't add me, go fuck yourself.
Go fuck yourself.